So I'm going to stop talking because we want to bring Ryan Coogler and Jenna Wortham on stage. It's our privilege and honor to welcome them.
Congratulations. I just feel like this is really, you are like living the dream, I bet, of so many people who are here right now.
I feel really fortunate, you know. Really fortunate to be able to tell that story and have that opportunity. So many things have to go right that are outside of my control for me to even get the opportunity to make that movie, you know, and to get that cash that we were able to assemble. And I look back on it, and so much of it was about timing, you know. It's like a brief example, and it's kind of full circle for being here. When I went to the Screenwriters Lab, this was 2012, you know. And I was in the lab with a fellow named Daniel Malloy, who's this incredible filmmaker out of the UK, and he showed his short film that was called Baby. You know, it's a short film that's kind of hard to find because it won a bunch of awards and kind of got locked down on British television. But it was this guy in it who was just amazing, who kind of played the lead role in the film. And I kind of talked to the filmmaker afterwards. I'm like, yo, who is this guy, man? How'd you find him? You know. And his name was Daniel Kaluuya, you know, and I kind of said like one day I'd like to work with that guy at some point, you know, and then when we were working on Panther, the screenplay for it, this is probably 2016, I remember going to the studio saying, hey, for this role, I would like to cast this actor, you know, and they were like, man, what's he been in? And I said, well, he was just in Sicario, you know, and he was really good in that. And they were like, oh, okay, you know, and they, you know, I had a Skype meeting with him, and he kind of agreed to be in the film. And we were able to work out getting him. And then, like, I remember a couple days later, the trailer for Get Out dropped, you know. And I was like, yo, this looks like it's gonna be really good. And then while we were, while we were filming, you know, Get Out came out and just made, you know, just set the whole world on fire. And I realized at that point, I was like, yo, if like, you know, if this film was like would have happened like a few months later, you know what I mean, we wouldn't have been able to even secure Daniel for that role, you know, because it's a role that's not a super big role in terms of time on screen. But, you know, to get him, you know, Chadwick, Mike, you know, Lupita Denai, and Angela, and Forrest all in the same movie at the same time. Sterling showed up for a couple days, you know what I mean? Yeah. And it was so much that was like, you know, outside of myself. You know, I just felt incredibly fortunate, you know, and to be able to share that film with the, you know, with the world and see people from all different types of backgrounds and age groups take to it in the ways they took to it, you know, was really it was really such a blessing, man. You know, it's a film that, I mean, it had to work. You know, and in hindsight, it's easy to say that the movie, you know, did good business, but there were many. It was almost a period of like, you know, a year and a half where we didn't know. You know, I remember the first time I saw the number that the film had to make in order to be considered profitable. And I felt physically sick, you know what I mean? Like I was like, oh my God, you know, like, you know, and nothing makes you feel more like a fraud, like when you see a number like that, and then you got your cast showing up wearing like rubber suits and capes, you know what I mean? And it's just like, oh man, is anybody gonna like be into this? Like, you know, like this is, you know, like you just it'll make you break out into a cold sweat, you know what I mean? Like, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and say, like, I don't think Forrest Whitaker has the right amount of dots on his face. Right. You know, like, and I'm like calling the makeup, like, yo, we need 2 more dots, like, by his ear, or else it's not gonna work. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's easy to say now, like, oh yeah, Black Panther, you know, like was this big blockbuster, you know, like, but like we were sitting in rooms, like, yo, it's like Brandon, do people even gonna know who we talking about? Like, like showing it to, you know, like showing it to audiences like in full panic, knowing how much it had to, you know, it's like a total opposite end of the spectrum. But what I would say, like what always calmed me down and like helped us to keep our focus was like, yo, is this honest? You know what I mean? Like with the people who this story would affect the most, be able to sit through this for a couple hours. You know what I'm saying? And feel involved. Like, you know, like if I go play this in Oakland, you know, or if I go play this in Cape Town, you know, in a township, you know, where people feel it. You know what I mean? Where people follow what we're talking about. And if it works for them, you know, it's a good chance that it might work for, you know, it's a good chance that it might work for other folks too. Cause you know, like, you know, everybody's from somewhere, right? You know what I mean? Like I asked the black folks, how many of y'all been to the continent? But I'm sure there's people here of Irish descent. You know what I'm saying? That maybe haven't been yet and heard stories about, you know, what it was like and stories about what it was like when they got conquered. You know what I mean? And what was lost. You know, it's like so everybody has, you know, an element of what we deal with as black folks. You know what I'm saying? It's not exactly the same thing. It's maybe not as urgent and pressing. But if it can work for our audiences, you know, is what we would talk about, then maybe people will be able to take that, you know, take that ride with us. You know, so that's what we were kind of banking on. So like the pressure was different, but like if you kind of like quiet all of that noise, you know, you can kind of find like maybe a basic truth that you can stick to that'll keep you from freaking out, you know. For me, Sundance quickly became about people. You know, I was able to go to the feature film program, participate in the Screenwriters Lab. And like, you know, it's like Sundance is like, you know, it's Sundance until you meet the people that are behind it, until you meet the wonderful human beings that kind of make this thing work. And I was able to form relationships with those folks. And then from there, I just think about the people, you know, like, so every time the festivals roll around, and I haven't been able to go because I was working, which is the best reason to not be able to go, you know. But I will be a little bummed out not to be able to see, you know, Michelle and Elise and Cooper and everybody. So being able to come back is kind of like a reunion. I got to see a bunch of folks in the green room. You know, it's really exciting. You know, to not just be able to just text them and check in. You know, to be able to actually see them is really great. And then, you know, every year a bunch of filmmakers that I know and respect and form relationship with. A lot of them through actually being in programming together. You know, I get to see them. I think I see Chris Milk right there. Yeah, but I guess a lot of filmmakers, if the light was that way, I probably know a lot of you guys just from different interactions. So it is kind of like a class reunion of sorts. You know, every time you get to come back. It's funny because I get nervous talking in front of a lot of people. But I do have to remind myself that like I would go to these kind of events. You know, I'll be the guy that's like waiting in line to see a filmmaker speak and to hear perspective and you know, I used to soak that stuff up. So, you know, whenever I get the opportunity to do it, you know, still I try to seize it, you know. It's funny, like, cause I found myself, you know, like when we're making this film, you know, I made it with a lot of my friends that I went to film school with, you know, Sev being one of them, my editors, you know, and we didn't know if it was gonna get into the festival. You know what I mean? Like for us, it was like, man, maybe it gets in the, you know, maybe it get into Sundance. You know, and then when it got in, we were like, man, maybe people will show up to watch it. You know, and maybe some of those people will be distributors. You know what I mean? And maybe we'll get a distribution. You know, like deal. You know, and so for us, we weren't even thinking about like being accessible to a wide audience. You know, like for me, I just wanted to tell a story that was truthful. And the biggest thing, like for me, was like, man, will I be able to show this? Will I be able to show this to Oscar's family and people who knew him first and foremost, and then people who grew up in the Bay Area, you know, and they won't be able to watch it and call bullshit. You know, that was like that was kind of where I was at. You know, I would say it's totally like finding the best people for the job, but not limiting. You know, just not limiting myself. Like, I can tell you specifically how the road to Hannah happened. You know, you know, I went to the Sundance Feature Film Lab. It's run by Michelle Sider, and it's a woman there named Elise McKinney who works with Michelle, and they kind of support you throughout your whole process. You know, they help you get your script better. You know, once you know, help you find financing if you need it. You know, and I was in a situation where I needed to find crew. You know, I was looking for a cinematographer, and Elise recommended that I meet Rachel Morrison. You know, her and Rachel had coffee or something like that, I think, and she really liked her, and she thought that, you know, me and Rachel would get along. Me and Rachel meet, we get along. I go see her movie, which she shot with I think a Canon 7D, which was when people was first shooting with you know, DSLR cameras. It was called Sound of My Voice. So you know, shot with a prosumer camera, and I thought the work in it was just like phenomenal. You know, I went to go see it in the theater by myself in Frisco, and sat there just kind of blown away. And I was like, yo, if she could do that with a, you know, with resources that limited, you know, she probably can knock this out of the park. And I met with her, really liked her, and then I believe her agent introduced me to Hannah, you know, and I met with Hannah over Skype, and Hannah just kind of blew me away. And they were both far and away the best. Rachel was the best cinematographer available for the job. Hannah was the best production designer available for the job. You know, and it's been like that with my crew. You know, so I just found myself, like, me and my production partners, we never limit ourselves in our search. You know, we find these incredible filmmakers that happen to be women. You know, and as far as the characters go, you know, it takes work, man. Like, it's not, you know, I'm not that great of a writer to just sit down and just knock my female characters out of the park on the first draft. You know, my wife reads them. You know what I mean? Michelle reads every draft that I'm working on. The links keep getting more and more secure, I guess. We shot at the Marvel draft, and she was like, "Yo, what's going on?" Like, it's like all of this stuff. But you know, my wife reads them, my collaborators read them, and then, like, you know, Rachel and Hannah read. You know what I mean? And eventually you get, you know, you cast incredible actors. In the case of Fruitvale, it was Octavia and Melanie. For Cree, I got to work with Tessa, who might be here. She's around. She's here. What's up, Tess? Well, you sitting with we sitting with Zinzi? Oh, yeah, but you know, when you cast great actors, you cast great actors, and then they'll tell you. You know what I mean? Like, Tessa would tell me, "Yo, this sucks." You know what I'm saying? What is Bianca doing here? Like, you know what I mean? And you know, you just listen. You know what I mean? And you work it out. You know, like, I'm not that good, to be honest with you. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not. Like, you know, my co-writer on Panther was a great writer. You know, but you know, we you know, Victoria Alonso is an exec at Marvel, and she reads and she's like, "Yo, guys, what's up with this?" You know what I'm saying? And we, you know, you listen. You know what I mean? And Lupita, Denai, Letitia, Angela, you know, they tell you, you know, like why is Ramonda doing this? You know what I mean? Why is she wearing this? You know, and you have those conversations, and you get there, you know. So I can't take, long story short, I can't take any credit for any of that. You know, you think about what makes you, you know, what makes you human, and that was still at the base of the conflict, and that was still at the base of the conflict in Panther. You know, Wakanda is a place where African people are allowed to be full human beings. You know, everywhere else isn't. You know what I mean? And so you know, you coming in contrast with a world where that's not the case. You know, and so yeah, that's something that you know that I think about. You know, like with keep it on Panther, like with Wakanda, the idea was, you know, it's this kind of insular country, and you know, but they do all this, you know, all this amazing stuff, and we would ask ourselves, like, what makes Wakanda special? Is like the vibranium that makes them special, and we're like, man, that's not interesting. You know what I mean? Because they just hit the jackpot of, like, growing up with access to this thing. You know, like, it'd be more interesting if it's actually them that are special. And you know, what we said was, like, you know, what if this is a place where, you know, society not only allows you to reach your full potential, but actually encourages it. It's just, yo, be great. We need you to. You know, if you're great with this technology and you 17, so what? You know what I mean? Go run the lab. You know, if you're the strongest warrior, you know what I mean? So what that you're a woman? You know what I mean? Run the military. You know, like, so that, you know, if you 100 years old, you know, you still got stuff to offer. 10 years since Oscar was murdered. Yeah, like it's they had a every year they do an event on New Year's Day at the Fruitvale Station, and this year was a 10-year anniversary. I wasn't able to make it, but I had a lot of friends that went and sent pictures and sent footage of it. Yeah, like I think it's kind of like back to what we were talking about initially. It's no one thing that's gonna solve these issues. You know, it's got to be like attacked on a you know, a multi-level front. You know, you need journalists, you need filmmakers, you know, you need activists. You know what I mean? You need everybody. You need all of it. You know, and you need to recognize the importance of all of it, and be critical of all of it. You know what I mean? And hold all of it accountable. Hold all of it up to the mirror. You know. It's interesting because I don't watch, you know, the films that I've made. I try not to go back and watch them. You know. And I was young when I made that movie, and it's interesting because I think if I was tasked to make it now, you know, it'd be a very different, you know, very different type of movie, you know. But what I've learned since making it, you know, is that we just kind of gotta continue to study and continue to learn and continue to read and like the work journalists did around that issue, you know, the issue of state-sponsored violence, you know, and has brought me to so many other things and so many other places, and has led to so many more connections, you know. So I think that we just gotta keep doing the work, keep approaching it, keep asking ourselves the tough questions, you know, and respect everybody's role in it, because they all equally important.